All right, y'all, we back with another reaction right here on ABP Reactions, man. And right now, the judge just dropped a hammer on David, and he's officially ordering a murder trial. Let's go.
Today I am here to announce that Judge Charlene Olmedo held David Anthony Burke, who goes by the name David spelled D4vd, to answer for the horrific and barbaric killing of a 14-year-old at the time, Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
That's DA Nathan Hochman out of LA talking after the conclusion of David's preliminary hearing. We are going to tell you what the court decided regarding whether or not this accused child killer is going to go to trial. And we just got a really big glimpse into what this defense may be. And I will tell you right now, it is shocking. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. We just wrapped up David's preliminary hearing. So this was over the course of several days. This is where the court would decide if there is sufficient evidence for this case to move forward to trial. Remember, he faces murder, continuous sexual abuse of a minor, unlawful mutilation of human remains charges, all in connection to the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. We know her dismembered, decomposed remains were found in a Tesla out in an LA tow yard back in September of 2025. A Tesla allegedly registered to David. And the purpose of this hearing over the last several days was to determine if there is sufficient probable cause, if there is enough evidence to support these charges to go forward to trial. Before I even tell you what the court decided, I'm going to play you my interview from earlier today with Julia Dang, our reporter who was in the courtroom, our eyes and ears since there are no cameras. But also, I want you to listen very carefully to what the defense did. They just gave a preview of what their defense may be. Self-defense. What am I talking about? You're going to see in a moment. So first, this is my interview with Julia Dang, and then on the opposite side, I'm going to tell you what the court decided. Okay, so I'm back here with NBC LA reporter Julia Dang, who's been in that courtroom. She was
Julia
in here today.
Dang.
We are talking during this lunchtime break. There's still some more arguments that are happening. At the time we're recording this, the judge hasn't made the decision about whether or not this is going to go to trial or not. I am made of questions regarding what happened this morning because I'm starting to see potential holes in the prosecution's case, which I want to get to. So, Julie, good to see you. Let me just start here. We had LAPD Detective Corey Farrell back on the stand talking about this plethora of text messages between David and Celeste. Thousands of messages. This is something that we were waiting to see. Talked about it on Friday, the images, the text messages. But today, he talked about the conversation leading up to April 23rd when prosecutors claim David killed Celeste. Talk to me about what those conversations were.
That nigga's going down,
This was so fascinating to me, Jesse, because opposing counsel here, the prosecution and the defense, they're presenting the exact same digital evidence here. They're presenting the same text message conversation between David and Celeste. And based on what these different attorneys are essentially cherry picking from these conversations, we are getting a very different view of what happened between the two of them and what was said the night before Celeste was allegedly killed. Now, first we heard from Beth Silverman, deputy DA prosecuting this case. When she had this LAPD detective, Corey Farrell, on the stand, they presented select text messages from hundreds, thousands of messages between the two during these 2 or 3 nights. And they were meant to basically just establish time, location, the two of them arguing, the two of them coordinating when and where to meet up, the two of them deciding on a pickup location for the Uber, and then Celeste alerting David when she apparently got into his home just after 10 o'clock in the evening on April 23rd, 2025.
That shit crazy, man. Golly. Now, it makes me question, like, for him to do that, so, like, you left, okay, it makes me like, was that the plan when she, like, to get her over here to kill her? Or did that trigger? Because why would you have the conversation with her phone, get an Uber, basically, because if you kill her, police gonna look at and see how she got there or where her last location was, shit like that, and they're gonna see that it took an Uber to your house. I don't think. But then again, she was that week. They said she was saying, "Nigga, I'm going to air you out," basically. So was this premeditated? Did he? Yes, because he had the pool already. He had the pool in the garage so she could bleed out. So it was premeditated. He had the pool already.
And asking him to let her in. So very basic facts there, just establishing the two of them were communicating. They were planning on meeting up. And Celeste said in her text message to David that she had arrived. Now, then on cross-examination, Blair Burke was questioning LAPD Detective Corey Farrell, and she asked to show the court additional messages from that same conversation. That's where we started to get a little bit more color about the argument that has been referenced previously in the prosecution's charging documents. This is where we actually saw text messages from Celeste to David threatening him. Let me paraphrase for you some of this.
Okay.
In those messages that were shown to the court, that Detective Farrell read to us, Celeste tells David that she's going to ruin his career. She tells him that she's going to tell her father lies about him. She tells him that she has contact information for his business associates and for his mother. She tells him that she's going to call his mother, Colleen Burke, and tell her damaging information about David. Now, we previously have not seen these messages. We didn't really have a sense of exactly what was said in the argument.
This is a 13-year-old girl, man. This nigga is really burnt the fuck out. Playing with this 13-year-old. My question is this, right? I wonder, was this his first time doing something to her, like, well, clearly, like, killing her is crazy. But was he beating her? Was he abusing her before all this? Is he, like, what type of person was this nigga, man? Like, he's obviously a weirdo. We got that out the way. Check. He's obviously a weirdo, but was he, like, a control freak who was beating this little girl up and doing little shit? Like, he's a terrible, terrible motherfucker, man. This nigga is really burnt the fuck out. But then I want to hear, if they talk about this today, the parents being in on this shit, man. Because make that make sense. How are you condoning and signing off for your 13-year-old daughter to leave the States with this boy that is over 18 or 18 at the time, whatever, and you're condoning it? That's crazy.
Between David and Celeste leading up to the night of April 23rd, when she allegedly died at his hands. So hearing this now and seeing all of this actually in print on the overhead monitor in the courtroom, it adds a little bit more color and life to this.
And to be clear, the reason this matters, it not only is potentially going to support the prosecution's narrative that he lured her there to kill her, but it goes to those special circumstances allegations, right? Lying in wait, killing for financial gain, killing a witness. I do have a question about this, though. When she claimed in these messages, or allegedly claimed in these messages, that she was going to ruin his career, was it directly about their relationship? Did she say, I'm going to tell everybody that you've been with a minor. I'm going to tell everybody about our sexual relationship. Was it about that? Because that's what I thought, based on the prosecution's arguments and their filing before this preliminary hearing, that's what she specifically threatened.
That's what I think we all thought, or think still. So if I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to out you, I'm going to exploit you, I'm going to tell, I'm going to, you know what I mean? I'm going to bring your world crashing down, nigga. It's going to be that you're fucking with me and I'm a minor. And you have me pregnant and all this shit. So what was she going to tell if it wasn't that? Tell what? That he's just a cheater? Because I saw she was mad. They said she was mad he was dealing with other girls. So Was it that angle? I was going to tell your mother that you're a cheater. You've been cheating on me and all this.
There was a lot, Jesse, that was said in these text messages, and there was a lot that really was not spelled out. Keep in mind, too, a lot of this was typed out in Gen Z shorthand, in text message format, and it's little blips of back and forth. But let me tell you what these messages did not explicitly state. And this is what the defense brought up during their closing statements just now. Celeste did not, at any point during this back and forth, based on what we've seen in the courtroom today, explicitly threaten to disclose anything criminal about David. She did not spell that out. But what she's insinuating, what she's alluding to, right, the evidence that she's gathered, the material that she has. That
he was a cheater. Watch. It's going to be something like he was a cheater and he was messing with other girls.
She's threatening to leak. Absolutely. I mean, that
no,
is...
but why would you tell the business that? She said she was going to tell his business. I got your business number. Let's keep watching.
Child sexual abuse material. She references that. She talks about reaching out not only to David's mother, but people on his management team. So that speaks to two of the special circumstances in this case that make the first-degree murder charge eligible for the death penalty here in California. That's, of course, murder for financial gain. There was some back and forth just now about whether preventing financial loss constitutes financial gain. The prosecution is alleging that it does, in fact, count. And there are several cases here in California that set a legal precedent for that. This also speaks to another special circumstance under that first-degree murder charge, and that is murder of a witness to a criminal investigation. And the prosecution made it very clear just now in their closing statements that there did not need to be an ongoing or pending criminal investigation for that special circumstance to be applied. Here's where there might be an issue, though. Lying in wait. It seems to me, based on the text message conversations we were just parsing through in the courtroom, that Celeste was actually the one who demanded she and David have this meeting on the evening of April 23rd.
So that's okay. Because I was wondering, like, was this something he wanted to do? Because why would he leave his track record of picking her up from the Uber? Because I'm like, okay, so now it's like her, hey, we need to meet. So now they said as soon as she walked in the door, that's what the early report said. As soon as she walked in the door, he stabbed her. After being in the house, he stabbed her and then left and drove to Santa Barbara. So he had the knife. He was ready to, like, this is crazy, bro. This is really fucking wild. This is a crazy case. This is really a sick nigga, man. We are witnessing. This is really a sick young man.
She was the one who pushed him to have an in-person conversation. They were fighting about whether he was dating somebody else. She became very upset after seeing social media posts featuring the two of them. And it sounds like that was what triggered this argument. So she demands to see him. He tells her no. He's getting ready for a trip to Singapore. He says his parents are there visiting. He doesn't have time. She demands to see him. And finally, he gives in. So we previously did not know that about this argument. We thought that he arranged it.
Well, he did get her the Uber, right? So it's interesting. I was listening to what the prosecution was arguing. They said lying in wait doesn't mean a surprise attack, but they're saying he's the one who got her the Uber, got her to go to the house, right? And we still don't know what actually happened in that house, because I have to tell you, when we're talking about potential now holes in the prosecution's case, didn't we learn a thing or two about potential surveillance footage and the Uber driver? That may not be so helpful to the prosecution's case.
Absolutely. I was wondering last week, as the prosecution was calling their witnesses for this preliminary hearing, are we going to hear from that Uber driver at any point? You know, we've heard about that piece of the investigation for months now.
Imagine being an Uber driver in this situation. Like, you just doing your job, in between going home and getting off work, and you just trying to make a couple extra dollars. And hey, listen, I'm just picking this person up, whoever this is, so I can make this. Oh, they going to Hollywood all the way from San Bernardino? Oh shit, I'm finna make me like $90. I'm finna make me $100. Cool, this is a good little drop off. That's all I'm looking at it from an Uber driver perspective. Hey, I'm finna make me a quick little $100 real quick. That's smooth. Boom, I dropped this person off, and a couple months later they hit you. Yeah, we need that footage. You got footage in your car? The girl you dropped off on this night at this time? Yeah, we're in the middle of an investigation for a shit. You like, wait a minute. Hey, matter of fact, we summoning your ass. We need you to come take the stand. Like, God damn, hold on, wait a minute. Why y'all put me in this situation? This is crazy. Yeah, that's wild.
That an Uber picked up Celeste in Lake Elsinore, where her family lives, and then dropped her off at David's home, just about 80 miles away in the Hollywood Hills. We haven't heard from this Uber driver yet. Well, that came up today in court. Apparently, LAPD did interview that Uber driver, and he denies having any recollection of that trip. He cannot definitively confirm that he dropped her off at that time, just after 10 p.m. that night, and he does not remember picking her up or driving her there. That is absolutely a hole in what the prosecution has been alleging for months now.
And no surveillance footage of her showing up or him being at the house, which, if I'm reading it correctly, again, seems to be problematic, which I know I'm jumping around a little bit because I do want to get a little bit back into what the prosecution was.
Uber driver said, I don't know shit. Damn, he don't remember. Damn, if a nigga do that shit every day, it'll definitely be hard to remember who all of you dropping off. If you're doing that shit every single day, all day, you know how many people you seeing? He like, shit, I don't fucking know. I know it could come out, it could come across as he lying, but damn, man, to be in the middle of a high profile case like this, I know he like, what the fuck? That's crazy. I would feel like, would you feel like some type of guilt? Like, damn, I feel bad. I drove her to her demise. Unknowingly, I didn't know, so it's like, damn, I drove her to her demise. I drove this young girl who's at the top of this high-profile case, the center of this high-profile case. I drove her to get murdered. That could play with your mental, man.
Arguing with Detective Farrell, but something else that really stuck out to me, they are mounting, as far as I can see, and I think the court referenced it, a potential self-defense argument. I mean, when I'm reading these messages, there was an aspect to it, and correct me if I'm wrong, did Celeste physically, or are they trying to suggest Celeste physically threatened David, and that perhaps when she got to his house, he acted in self-defense? Am I looking at this completely wrong?
You're not. We've talked about a couple different defenses that attorneys have been, I think, either laying the foundation for or exploring as a potential option if or when this does go to trial. And I think this self-defense argument may be the one they have the strongest foundation for right now. As to the point you're making.
Man, no. Listen, all that self-defense shit, like, my nigga, you would have called the police. They're going to say, why you didn't call the police, bro? Period, point blank. If she came over here and, nigga, she wanted to try to stab you first and you ended up stabbing her, why didn't you simply call the police and break it down right there and then, nigga, instead of trying to get rid of her body? You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, you can still run that self-defense shit, but, nigga, this ain't no self-defense. Cut it the fuck out. Nigga, cut it the fuck out, bro. This is you. Y'all burnt the fuck out and doing this off-the-grid, freaky, nasty shit y'all shouldn't be doing. Her being a minor, you being an adult, and then, nigga, you getting her pregnant and then fucking with other girls who they said other minors. You got to remember they said he fucked with other minors, too. He fucked with other minors, too. They be leaving. You know, they don't really highlight that he's messing with minors. Like, they don't really highlight the fact that he's a pedo. Y'all notice that? They're not highlighting the pedophile. Why aren't they highlighting that part? Yeah, you're a murderer. you're the sickening motherfucker, but why don't they highlight he's a pedophile too?
About physical assaults from Celeste. That was actually stricken from the court record this morning. The judge explained she is the victim here. She is not being charged with assaults. So until this goes to trial and the defense is presenting a self-defense argument, that's simply irrelevant. But that did come up. And it sounds like there may be evidence relating to that we could hear at a later date. But to your point too, Jussie, about that surveillance footage or lack thereof, absolutely. I mean, there is irrefutable hard evidence for so many other things, right? Phone records, Tesla records, text messages that spell out what people were saying and doing at specific times. There is no surveillance footage actually showing David or Celeste going into or coming out of the Doheny Place home where he was staying at the time. The LAPD detective, Corey Farrell, the final witness for the prosecution during this preliminary hearing, he spoke to that today. And he laid out what I thought was a very reasonable explanation. He says by the time they tried to access that security system to search for that video, it had been so long, it had been months, and the system simply overwrote itself. It wasn't stored there anymore. Now, we don't know if somebody may have gone back and deleted that. We don't know if the cameras may have been turned off during that time. All we know is there is no video. So what the prosecution has been alleging this whole time, that David stood by and watched the victim bleed out, well, there's no video documenting that. So we have to wonder, Jussie, if they're going to call another witness to the stand during the trial who can say that they saw that happen.
Well, I think what I was hearing today from the prosecution is they're assuming that happened because the argument would be there was no outgoing calls to emergency services. Although it seems to be complicated a little bit because the defense was saying your medical examiner, right? The medical examiner said that we don't know how long it took for Celeste to succumb to her injuries, right? So this idea that you claim our client was watching her bleed out, it seems that it's complicated by the ME's testimony, right?
That's right. I mean, he testified the other day, either one of those two penetrating wounds that they attributed her death to, either one could kill somebody in, quote, minutes to an hour. That is a pretty wide window of time. And he simply can't stay. And that's because of the advanced state of decomposition.
That's crazy, man. So she could have been sitting right there bleeding out for an hour, asking for help, asking, please call me some help. And he just sitting there just watching. He's sitting there just watching. It could have been up to an hour. It could have been minutes. And he's just sitting there watching her bleed out, not calling help for her. That's crazy. That nigga's really a sick nigga, man. And then now I want to say, oh, it's self-defense. No, bro, what the fuck?
May have been dead for weeks to months before her body was found. We saw in very graphic imagery exactly what her body looked like when the pieces were found in body bags inside that vehicle. So he can't say which penetrating wound happened first. It took them about 3 months just to finalize their autopsy findings and confirm her cause of death. So he doesn't know what kind of instrument or
look at the picture, bro. Look, they got the body pieced together and shit. This is them showing the pictures. Her legs put here, the foot is cut off. That's crazy. Look where all the places he cut her. Then they got the hand with her finger. There goes the finger with the tattoo. He cut her finger off. They got the matching tattoo. So that's like a purposely cut that off. You literally are a sick motherfucker. You purposely cut off the finger y'all got the matching tattoo on. Because they were saying they couldn't find it. Remember? They couldn't find her finger. So you was like keeping it as a keepsake, nigga. That's crazy. You are a sick motherfucker.
Then caused those injuries. The body goes through a lot of change post-mortem.
Sure.
So there was back and forth the other day about just how deep those penetrating wounds really were. They cannot say for sure at this point.
I have to tell you, I was reading your notes. An interesting name popped up. Somebody that I was wondering if they were going to testify at this preliminary hearing. Somebody that we knew was a purported associate or friend of David. Somebody who created some social media video in anticipation of this case. And that is Asia Collins. We never really understood what her connection or role was to this. We sure did get a lot more information today about Asia Collins, didn't we?
We did, Jesse. Turns out Asia Collins, who is an LA-based influencer, social media model, she's got a presence and a platform online. Turns out it was her association with David and their rumored friendship or perhaps early stages of dating that made Celeste incredibly upset. And that is what Celeste cites as the source of her anger when she is threatening David and telling him over text the night before he sent the Uber to pick her up and deliver her to his home. She tells him over text that she's going to, quote, mutilate his
What? What? What the fuck type of... What did y'all have going on, bro? This is just an all-around crazy case, man. This is like just wild. Like at this age, like this is some shit like with older people, you will hear something like this and be like, okay, this nigga's a sick-ass man, he's crazy. This is a young nigga doing this fucking torturous shit. You don't really hear about young kids doing torturous shit to young kids. Like, when's the last time you heard of a young kid taking another kid, like somebody that's 18, I think he was 18 at the time, 19, 20, whatever, and you're taking a child and you're cutting them up with chainsaws and hiding their body parts and doing all, it's like, you gotta be a sick motherfucker. I ain't never in my life at 18 thought, I'm finna kill somebody and chop their body up and hide the body parts in the trunk of a car. And like, who even thinks like that? To have that mind state. Like, who thinks like that? I'm finna cut the person's finger off. I'm finna cut their ankle, cut their leg, stuff it in a bag, put it in this bag, put it in the trunk of the car. He need help, man. I mean, shit, he needs to be murdered. I mean, not murdered, but electric chair. This is sick, bro. That mentality is not common. Like, that's a real sicko mentality. That's like, what's them Jeffrey Dahmers and all them type niggas. Like, you got a real sick mentality.
She tells him that she doesn't want to see one more instance of David being tagged in posts with Asia Collins. Asia did come out on the record and state publicly after the charges were filed against David that she never dated him. She also came out and says she wants justice for Celeste. Now, we don't know if she may be called as a witness during the trial, but her name did come up today, and we've been waiting to see what kind of role she played in all of this.
But again, this goes to this whole idea that's so right. The defense is saying Celeste was the one who wanted to come over. Celeste was the one who was dangerous. Yeah. Celeste was the one who was violent. Celeste was the one that was threatening him. And I'm pretty sure where you said the court kind of put a limitation to that, but you're seeing where the defense may go if this ultimately goes to trial. However, we've been talking about the holes in the defense's case. Something else that Detective Farrell mentioned today, I was hoping you could amplify it, was this idea of tracking the movements of the car and the phone. That came up today, right? About David's electronic signature, electronic movements. Can you talk to us about that?
That's right. It came up again. This was from testimony that another LAPD expert spoke to a couple days ago last week during the first few days of this preliminary hearing. And in short, what that testimony established was that David's phone and David's Tesla were moving in the same place at the same time the night that Celeste was allegedly killed. So that came up again today, and they reminded the courts that as part of the prosecution's case, they found David's vehicle and his phone left his Hollywood Hills home at about 11:30 p.m., so about an hour and a half after Celeste arrived at that home, and then headed up to Lake Kachuma. Now, he went further north than that to charge his Tesla. It stopped at a supercharger location, and there were photos shown to the court today as part of the People's Exhibit of the infotainment system in David's Tesla. So that tracks, I think, without a lot of room for doubt, where the vehicle was. There's still a question as to whether there's any surveillance footage that shows David inside the car. Defense obviously pointed that out the other day. There is nothing so far that places the defendant definitively inside his car as it's moving away from the house up to Lake Kachuma, where the victim's passport card was found months later.
So why did he drive all the way out there then? I mean, y'all think David's going to take the stand in his own case? Do y'all think he's going to take the stand in his own case, or do y'all think his legal team is going to say, no, you shouldn't take the stand? Cross-examination is going to be crazy. Cross-examination is going to be crazy. They're going to fry you, my boy. Should he take the stand? Because at this point, it's nothing you can say, my nigga. I don't give a fuck what you say, nigga. It's kind of like just to get clarity to see if he's going to come clean and confess or something and break it all down and give the family clarity, give everybody clarity. Like, that would be the only reason I could see people like, yeah, we want to hear what he got to say. Yeah, he should take the stand, because it's nothing you can say to get out of this. Oh, she attacked me first, but she missed and I took it and I stabbed her with it. Nigga, everything you did just from messing with a minor, let's start there. And then how you was doing it, getting her pregnant and just wild, foul shit. And then the manner of how you disposed of the body, and it's like, nigga, there's nothing you could possibly say to get you out of this, brother. Like, it's crazy. This is crazy.
Julia, I thought another interesting point was about Celeste's family. There seemed to be a big conversation today about what did they allegedly know or seemingly know about David's purported alleged illegal sexual relationship with Celeste, which, by the way, and we'll talk about this in a minute, the prosecution said even if there's this idea that David was mistaken about how old Celeste was, that's not a legal defense to the charge that he's facing. And we talked last week about all the alleged imagery and photos and text messages potentially proving their sexual relationship, which is, pretty disgusting to say the least, that whole conversation. But the point is, I have to bring it up, there was testimony today regarding what Celeste's family knew. And if I'm reading your notes correctly, did her parents walk in right as this was happening?
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. I'm glad y'all showed up. Here's what we finna talk about, what you motherfuckers knew. While y'all acting all victim. Let's talk about what y'all knew and approved and signed off on.
So to be clear, Jesse, as you stated, and the prosecution made this very clear in court today, several different ways, it does not matter how old Celeste told David she was. That does not absolve him of these child sexual abuse charges. It does not matter if she lied to him about her age and said she was 18 when she was 13. That does not change the factual substance surrounding that particular charge, sexual abuse of a minor under 14. It also does not matter that her parents consented to letting her travel with him. It also does not matter that her parents, her aunts, her cousins, and apparently her older sister were aware that she spent time with him, went to the mall with him, went to the movies with him. That does not make it okay for him to have sexual relations with this child. So that did come up. And I think that's part of this bigger story, right? We're getting a more colorful picture of what was happening around not only David, but Celeste. Yes, it does seem like, based on the evidence shown to the court today, people around her, including her family, they were aware the two of them spent time together. But beyond that, we don't know if her parents were aware of this purported abortion that happened in January 2024. And let me just remind you, in January 2024, Celeste was still 13 years old.
So what was the parents aware of? What are you saying? Now you're trying to cover for the parents. Don't do that. Don't do that. You know what I mean? You letting this girl date this boy and it's cool they can go to the movies. We didn't know they were having sex. So you don't care that he's older? You didn't ask? You're letting your daughter leave the house at 13 years old with a boy you have no information on? What are you going to say? You didn't know he was of age? You didn't know he was 18? You didn't know he was 19, 20, 21? What are you saying? What are you trying to say right now?
I don't know if her parents were aware that he was instructing her to take Plan B. We don't know if they were aware of who she was with and what they were doing when she ran away from her home in Lake Elsinore at David's prompting. He called that OA. He had a name for those runaway operations. He called them Operation Awesome. He was talking to her over text in records that we've seen. He was talking to her about getting married, starting a family. He told her over text.
What? This is really a sick nigga. Operation Awesome? You got a name for when you sneaking minors out the house to run away? Operation Awesome?
You know, if you have twins, great, because we wanted 2 kids anyway. She was 13 years old when they were having those conversations.
And Celeste's family in court today was listening to all this?
They were. Her parents, Jesus and Mercedes, they walked in a little bit late. They came in around 10 in the morning, and they're sitting through this testimony. They're sitting there through closing statements. We feel their presence.
By the way, how is David acting and behaving in court today?
He's so interesting to watch, Jesse, because the responses, the reactions, I think you would expect from somebody in his position. We're not seeing those. I'm sitting at an angle, maybe about 15 to 20 feet behind him, so I can see from the side his facial expressions. You know, he walked in this morning, he was smiling, laughing a little bit, sidebarring with his attorneys. He's been sitting in his usual seat at the end of the counsel table, kind of staring straight ahead for most of today. He did start taking notes. That was something we didn't see during the first 3 days of this preliminary hearing, but he was jotting something down as they were going back and forth talking about the text message conversation.
What the hell is he taking notes on? What are you taking notes on? What? You sick ass nigga. Look at this shit. He got her finger cut off. They got the picture right here with the measuring tape, measuring her fingers. She didn't cut her fingers off, bro.
Beyond that, you know, we haven't heard much from him. He's very still. You know, he's not moving much. He's not fidgeting the way that he was on Friday when testimony was dissecting the child sexual abuse material found on his phone. But it's very interesting to observe him. I've had a couple hallway conversations during breaks with the courtroom sketch artist, and she agrees. I mean, in her words, she says, it's like he's off on a different plane.
Where we just left off, when you got out of court to speak to us, the defense, I understand, had made a motion to basically say, hey, listen, court, there's insufficient evidence for this case to move forward. And as we're talking about, by the way, it's interesting. We've always wondered, why was there no grand jury indictment in this case? My mind is thinking maybe there's an issue with some of the holes we're talking about. But talk to me about, if you can summarize, what have been some of the arguments from the defense today about why there's not enough evidence to support these specific charges, the elements of these charges, and what have you heard from the prosecution in response?
So what we just heard from the defense before breaking for lunch, defense attorney Marilyn Bednarski was laying out 5 issues that she has with the prosecution's case. Essentially, she is alleging they don't have any evidence proving murder. She says they only have evidence that can support concealment and transportation of a body. They also spent quite a bit of time attacking the 3 special circumstances surrounding that first-degree murder charge that make it eligible for the death penalty. It seems like there's a lot of focus on that, and of course that's lying in wait, murder for financial gain, or in this case, murder to prevent financial loss, which the prosecution has established is essentially the same thing, and murder of a witness to a crime, which the prosecution has established they can apply, even though there was no pending criminal investigation yet. So there's a lot of focus, I think, on invalidating those special circumstances and perhaps saving their client from the death penalty, which the DA, the LA County District Attorney Nathan Hochman, hasn't actually decided whether or not they're going to pursue. There wasn't a lot of back and forth in the defense team's closing statement relating
to ever trying to pursue it, it would be this case right here. This is crazy. I don't even know, what's the last big case, like a murder case, to be this viral? What's the last big murder case to be this viral? This is a viral ass. If ever time to exercise that based on the circumstances and what he did and the actions he did, my nigga, chopping up a body, keeping the fingers, nigga, keeping it in the trunk of the car for months, about to leave to go on tour and leave a body in the trunk. You was finna go on tour and leave a body in the trunk of the car while you was going on tour. That's crazy.
To the charge for which I think there is the most hard evidence for, the continuous sexual abuse of a child under 14 charge. But 3 felonies here, including mutilation, unlawful mutilation of human remains, first-degree murder, and the continuous sexual abuse of a child charge. After prosecution wraps, I believe defense may have another opportunity to respond. So there's still a question mark on whether this is actually going to end today or if this might continue into Tuesday morning.
Julia Dang, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
Crazy, man.
So after I finished up with Julia, this is what came out of court. The judge found that there is sufficient cause to believe the defendant is guilty and to move this trial on all 3 counts, talking about how such a low standard it is. The judge reminded this is an exceedingly low standard, sufficient cause to hold someone to answer, again, probable cause. Apparently, David was staring straight ahead at the judge with his arms folded in front of him as she was reading this case, the law notes, court decisions. So yes, the judge found that there's sufficient probable cause. This is going to move forward. And it appears that an arraignment on these charges is going to be held on Monday, August 31st at 8:30 a.m. Bail has been denied, and there was also reporting from Julia that David was nodding rapidly as his attorney was whispering to him before waiving the speedy arraignment. So again, Monday, August 31st arraignment at 8:30 a.m. Prosecution agreed, and now we're going to move forward. Now, before we wrap...
All right, let's get it.
Wrap things up. Here is Los Angeles District Attorney Nathan Hochman outside the courthouse after the court's decision.
Good afternoon. My name is Nathan Hochman. I'm the Los Angeles County District Attorney. Today I am here to announce that Judge Charlene Olmedo held David Anthony Burke, who goes by the name of a singer David spelled D4vd, to answer for the horrific and barbaric killing of a 14-year-old at the time, Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
They about to make an example out of your ass, David. Well fucking deserved. This is the one time I'm standing with you, DA. Make an example out of that bitch ass nigga. Send that nigga to the electric chair, bruh.
She has held him to answer for first-degree murder with the special circumstances of lying in wait, doing this crime for financial gain, and murdering a witness to an investigation. David Anthony Burke has also been held to answer for the mutilation of the remains of Celeste Rivas Hernandez on September 8th, 2025. And he has also been held to answer for engaging in continuous lewd and lascivious acts with a 13-year-old.
With a minor. You get his ass out of here, bro. He's out of here. This nigga, bro, if ever time to execute and use that motherfucking electric chair, nigga, the death penalty, this would be the statement right here. Use that motherfucker. Pump fear back into these goddamn weirdos, man. They are out here running rapid right now. All these pedos, nigga, you see pedos left and right every day on the internet now. Every day on the internet, pedos. Niggas catching pedos. They running rapid because y'all niggas not doing shit to these motherfuckers. Y'all not doing nothing to them. Take one of their own and zap the fuck and fry that nigga brains, nigga, and start doing something to these pedos, man. Y'all gotta make examples out of these niggas, bro. They are out here wilding right now. Every day you look on the internet, bro, it's somebody, Gideon, it's whatever, these moody niggas. They're just running around and just catching pedos, hanging out around schools, reaching out to young girls, telling them to come up to their jobs so they can have sex and all. And it's like, these are really sick motherfuckers. And they work in the Walmarts, they work in the restaurants. Why? Because they know, like, look what happens. The last person got caught, nothing happened to him. All he had to do was go on this registry and they slap on the wrist. He didn't lose his job, nothing, because y'all protect them motherfuckers, man.
What we have seen in this preliminary hearing, and the preliminary hearing was conducted by one of our most experienced deputy district attorneys, who is right here, Beth Silverman, and her team, working with the Los Angeles Police Department's Robbery Homicide Division. They methodically presented over 5 different days before Judge Olmeda the evidence that showed, and at this point we had to show it by probable cause, but by probable cause, and I would argue by an overwhelming amount of probable cause, and we will eventually prove this beyond a reasonable doubt. It followed the timeline of the interactions between Celeste Rivas Hernandez when she started as a 12-year-old, then a 13-year-old, then a 14-year-old who never got to see her 15th birthday. Because in the intervening time where she had these interactions with Mr. Burke, he engaged in this sexual conduct with a 13-year-old repeatedly, over and over again. This came out in text messages that were presented, in videos and photographs that were presented to the judge that showed this sexual activity. Ms. Silverman methodically tracked the timeline of their interactions during 2022, 23, 24, 25, that eventually led to the time where Celeste Rivas Hernandez went over to Mr. Burke's house in the Hollywood Hills on April 23rd, 2025, and has never been heard of again. But what Ms. Silverman and her team were able to show to Judge Olmeda is that on April 23rd, 2025, what actually happened was the brutal and horrific murder of Ms. Hernandez. And thereafter, over the ensuing 5 months, how her body was chopped up, left in the front trunk of a Tesla, only to be discovered on September 8th, 2025, after the car, and this is Mr. Burke's car, had been towed to a tow yard. What now happens is that there will be an information that will be filed within the next week or so. That information will track these 3 felony counts that have already appeared in the complaint. August 31st will be the arraignment on that information. Thereafter, there will be a trial that will be set. That trial can be set as early as 60 days. And as we saw with the preliminary hearing, where the defense demanded that they have that preliminary hearing done within the time that the law allows, whatever time they want a preliminary hearing, we were ready. Often preliminary hearings in a case of this complexity take many, many more months than you have seen in this case. But when the defense demanded a quick preliminary hearing, we said, bring it on. And that's exactly what we did. If the defense wants a trial 60 days out or whenever they want this trial, we will be ready for that trial. So at this point, again, we don't have the one additional consideration is that Mr. Burke now is eligible for death penalty. The death penalty considerations are now being weighed. Part of that consideration will be any submission that the defense wants to submit to the district attorney's office. It is something that we will consider on whether or not we will seek the death penalty. At this point, the death penalty determination has not been made. I will now open it up for questions.
Seek it.
The defense made many arguments. The defense did not present any evidence. And by the way, the defense doesn't have to do anything in a criminal case. At all points in time, a defendant is presumed innocent until and unless proven guilty. And today it was by probable cause. And at a trial, it will be beyond a reasonable doubt. We will have to convince 12 jurors unanimously to find every element of the crime in order to actually get a conviction. So the defense
this is going to be a layup. This is going to be easy. Y'all got every fucking thing you possibly fucking need. What don't y'all got? What would possibly, for you watching right now, is there anybody watching right now with doubt that David isn't guilty, David didn't do this, is there anybody watching right now that feels that way? Do you feel like David didn't do this shit? He's being framed. Or David wasn't wrong, she deserved that. Who's actually feeling that way? And they got all this overwhelming evidence, bro. They got so much. We got everything you need, motherfucker. It's right here. Text messages, nigga, tracking where she was, nigga, what you used, what you did here, what you said here, what y'all was doing here. Like, nigga, we got everything. We ready. I don't think nobody is doubting he didn't do this shit. I don't think there's a person out there, and if you are a sick motherfucker. You a sick motherfucker. For one second you thinking David wasn't wrong or he was justified to do this or he didn't do it.
Made many arguments. Again, they are arguments at this point. The arguments themselves are not evidence. If and when the defense wants to present evidence at any point, we will match and meet that evidence and overcome any of the arguments or evidence in the trial that will be upcoming. So the other idea that you need to have is that a preliminary hearing is not designed for the prosecution to present all its evidence. Mr. Quealy is correct from the Los Angeles Times that there was additional evidence that was actually considered in this case that we anticipate being presented at trial. I'm not going to go into the specifics of that additional evidence, only to say that we presented a significant but small fraction of our evidence in this preliminary hearing. At a trial, we will present all our evidence because the proof at a trial will be beyond a reasonable doubt. We will not be allowed to use certain hearsay that you can use in a preliminary hearing that you cannot use in a trial. It has to be admissible evidence, and the witnesses will need to come in to establish all the foundation, the relevancy, and overcome any objections to the type of evidence. So you are correct that there will be additional and significant evidence presented at a trial that wasn't presented here at this preliminary hearing. We'll take a question right here.
That we did see how would you say the evidence in this case strikes you?
We believe that the evidence at trial will be overwhelming to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt on the 3 charges with which Mr. Burke will be charged.
Yes, sir. Y'all got it. Y'all for sure got it.
You got a small preview of some of that evidence, including the text messages.
Damn, that's just only a preview. All this shit they presented is he said a small preview. Nigga, we got so much shit on you, bro. just alone, the little preview we told the people we got on you is shocking and enough shit to send your ass up Shit's Creek. Nigga, we gonna present it all, nigga, if y'all wanna play. Y'all wanna, okay, let's present it all. Let's really show the mind of a sicko how sick you are. So that without a doubt, you are guilty and we can push this death penalty, nigga. We can secure this death penalty. All that goddamn self-defense bullshit, man, stop it. Stop it.
And the video and photographic evidence that was also presented directly to the judge. This was difficult evidence to even hear, but also the crime that we are dealing with is incredibly horrific and barbaric. And it's not shocking that the evidence that would prove a horrific and barbaric crime would itself also be very difficult to deal with and to watch and listen to. But that is the evidence. We'll make sure that the jury eventually has all the evidence in order to reach a verdict in this case.
Do you have any idea how?
Let's say right here. I'm sorry, you have to speak up just a touch. So again, we have said this before, the unspeakable tragedy that the Rivas Hernandez family has had to go through to first lose their daughter, but to then find out how they lost their daughter is something that there are no words to do. All we can do at the district attorney's office is bring justice in this case by bringing that killer to justice. That killer is David Anthony Burke, and we intend to bring him to justice before a jury at a trial in the upcoming future.
One more question.
Right here. Again, at trial, we will bring in all relevant evidence that will establish all the elements of the crimes that have been charged. You heard a preview of that evidence in the preliminary hearing, whether it was, again, certain witness testimony, certain text messages, videos, photographs. There will be business records, and there will also be witnesses that are precipient witnesses. They have information that is relevant to establish the mental state of David Anthony Burke and the acts he committed. That evidence will be presented at trial, at the end of which we will be seeking a verdict of guilt on the 3 counts of which he will be charged: first-degree murder with the special circumstances of lying in wait, doing it for financial gain, and eliminating a witness in connection with that case, mutilation of human remains, and engaging in a continuous series of sexual acts with a minor that are lewd and lascivious acts. Thank you all very much.
That's all.
Yeah. Shame on them, man. Terrible, man. I feel no pity for this guy whatsoever, man. What he did is not cool. You know what I'm saying? It's not justified. She said this. She was going to do this first. She was the one that was crazy. Look at the text message. She said she was going to cut my thing off. You know what I mean? Like, but listen, brother, you're out of pocket for one dating a minor, bro. And the fact that you're dating a minor, not only that, look what you're doing. You're over here recording videos of her. You got sexual videos of her. You're getting her pregnant. You having her have abortions. You're gaslighting her to think you want to have kids and marry her while you over, like, bro, this is a 13-year-old girl, bro. A 13-year-old girl, bro. I don't know, man. This is just, wow, bro. And then you just, look at the form of what you did when you got rid of her body. Like, you kept her fingers, bro. Like, you for one, you thought this shit out. And let me order chainsaws. Let me order burn cages. You was going to burn her, bro. You was going to try to burn her body. And, like, bro, you are a sick motherfucker, bro. And, like, you got to be put, you know how they take the dog to the back of the horse or the dog to the back of the barn and put him out of his misery? You got to be put out your misery, man. That's what needs to happen. You gotta be put out your misery, bro. Like this is sick. You don't need to be on the streets. These type of people don't need to be on the streets. Like they're not gonna learn anything from this if you put them back out there. They're gonna do it again eventually. You are a problem, bro, and we feel no sympathy, man. We feel none, and if you do, go get help, man. Go get checked, man. Why would you feel sympathy for somebody like this? Why? What? Let me hear it. Put in the comment section why you think, no, he's human. Oh, he deserves a second chance. Oh, everybody makes mistakes. Are you one of those people that you feel that way for David? If so, get help, man. That's some sick shit, bro. This is terrible, man. But let me know what y'all think about this situation, man. David, guilty in my eyes. Do you think he's guilty? You know what I'm saying? What do y'all think is going to come from this, man? Do you see a possible way of him getting off and getting a not guilty? Is there any possible way that you think could happen? I don't think so. But let me know what y'all think. I'm going to give you 2 seconds to smash a like. And as always, get ready for the next reaction.